Me want cookies.
Cookies?
Cookies.
What kind of cookies?
Classic Chewy oatmeal cookies. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Happy Tuesday!
I hope you're having a good one on this 10-20-20-20.
10, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. Technically, at 8:20, it would also be 2020.
10, 20, 20, 20, 20.
Yeah, so for those of you that are on the East Coast, you might be with us at 8:20, which would be 10, 20, 2020, 2020.
Welcome to Food Love Laughter, or AKA Folala, AKA the Katie and Ezra Show. That I'm just calling for the first time now. I think we should call it the Katie and Ezra Show. Yeah, so today we're going to jump into some classic Chewy oatmeal cookies. We just call them cookies, which, by the way, was my first word, cookie.
This guy.
Cookie. That's where this comes from. And all the waters. So this recipe we got a long time ago in a magazine that if you've never heard of, it's pretty brilliant. It's called Cooks Illustrated.
Yeah, shouts to Cooks Illustrated if you
real.
all know it
We've
or
had
have
this
ever
since
seen it.
2016, so we've been making this recipe I've been making this recipe.
Ezra's been making this recipe.
So I'm going to take point on this time because I am
recipe.
fond of making this recipe. Look, when we make them, it is not gluten-free and it is not sugar-free.
It's full of sugar and gluten and dairy.
So if you can turn it off now, or just if you like to
maybe
hear us.
next week we'll do a gluten-free, dairy-free version, but today we are doing Ezra's most favorite oatmeal raisin. Well, it's an oatmeal cookie. You can add raisins or chocolate chips or whatever you want. But it's like oatmeal cookie. I remember very distinctly when you made this recipe for the first time.
You do?
Because I was...
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Preheat the oven to 375. Go.
So I was on tour in the fall of 2016. We were living in Albuquerque, but I went on tour for 4 months. So I toured Hamlet for 2 months, and then I toured Frosty for 2 months. And Ezra, sweet Ezra, was by his lonesome in New Mexico for 4 months.
I remember this.
Yeah, and so we talk every day, and one day he's like, I've done it. I have made the best cookie I have ever made in my entire life. And I was like, okay, cool, like awesome. I'm like performing a couple times a day, real loopy. And he was like, no, Katie.
It's really intense.
He liked the recipe so much that he made it on like a Tuesday and then made an entire another batch again on Wednesday.
Because
just to make sure.
I ate them all. All right, let's get to this, yeah? Here we go. All right, so adjust your rack to the middle. And here's why, just so you know, why we're going to do this recipe and why it's so good, because these people scientifically broke down, these wonderful people at Cooks Illustrated have broken down, maybe push that light back just a little bit, it's a little hot on ya. No, stay in the door, but yeah, as far back. Nice, very good. Thank you. And this recipe is based on a dense middle, like a chewy middle, and a crispier outside, yeah? Nice. All right, so here we go. We've put our oven to 375. You've adjusted your rack to the middle position. Find 2 pans. You're going to need 2 cookie sheets to put parchment paper on, and then you begin to put the dries together, the dry ingredients, starting with how much flour?
5 ounces.
5 ounces of flour.
This was really interesting because normally in baking we would just measure with measuring cups, but Ezra got a food scale as he was like tracking his protein.
Food scales are awesome.
So food scales are awesome. They are great for tracking your protein, but also so good. That's not what I thought you said. I thought you said sex. And I was like,
no. Salt.
So food scales, especially in baking, if you've ever watched any like Alton Brown on the Food Network, he's really into the food scale. And so Ezra, in anticipation of this episode, measured all the things and learned something particularly about the oatmeal, right? The oats, as it were.
We'll get to that a little bit later.
We'll get to that. But right now we have flour.
We have flour. We have
salt.
3/4 teaspoon of
Do that.
of
So
salt.
You can keep moving.
Okay.
Okay.
That's already in there. Thank you, though. And then we're going to do some baking soda. Why don't you do this one? We're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay.
So these are our dries, which we're going to whisk.
Whisk. Let's get whiskey.
You're going to also want to take, once that happens, pause the video if you need to, but you're going to also want to take 4 tablespoons, which is about 1/2 stick of butter. And you're going to want to put that into a skillet on medium low, I'd say, about medium, and let those milk solids get nice and hot and kind of foamy. Once the foam subsides, you're going to pour that into a separate bowl, but not before.
Let's get whiskey.
Let's get whiskey. Okay, so we're going to get whiskey with it. Get the whiskey with it. All right, that's good. Our friend Sarah Brown has remarked specifically how she loves the amount of salt in these cookies. If you've never had a particularly salty cookie, they're awesome. They can go too salty, but man, a pinch of salt will really do you right.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor and add a little salt, I would say, to every sweet treat that you do, because it really makes a difference.
This recipe makes 20 cookies, so think about that. 3/4 tablespoon of salt. Not that much. All right, so now that, may you pass me... I got it. Now that our butter is ready, it's just been going for like about 1.5 minutes, and it wants to be warm for this part. I'm going to take this tiny skillet, and it smells a bit nutty. It's got
it smells brown buttery. It does smell nutty.
It's good stuff. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Brown gold there. This is what we got going on here. All right, so the recipe specifically says to, and as I do, take a rubber spatula and scrape the skillet that you got going on here.
Do you know why? Why
you want the brown? You want the brown bits.
You want the brown bits from the melting.
All right, so that's now. Yeah.
Brown butter.
Brown butter. Okay, so now we've put our dries aside, and we started with our wets, with our butter. Booyah! All right. This part I have forgotten before, and I'm going to try not to right now by just mentioning it. Here's where the cinnamon comes into play. I have forgotten this part of the recipe before.
Oh right, and then it's like in the oven, and the cookies are in the oven, and you're like, cinnamon!
Oh, no!
Like, you just hear from another part of the house, cinnamon!
No! So you want a 1/4 teaspoon, not much.
1/4 teaspoon,
which is
okay.
the tiniest one there.
Great.
Yeah. And this is going to go right into the butter. And then we're going to add our sugars. We have 2 different kinds of sugars today. We have regular granulated sugar, refined sugar, and we also have, which is not great for you, but Nita is going to...
We said, yeah. We told you.
We told you.
We warned you.
Fair warning. And we have dark brown sugar. So you know, for each of these, what we got, about 3/4 cup of the dark brown sugar, or 5 1/4 ounces, which is significantly less than this, okay? A 1/2 cup, I'm just like making discoveries just by weight. Let me scooch the sign just a little. Yeah, there you go. And then 3.5 ounces of granulated white sugar, yeah? So this is gonna go in, and then we'll also add a 1/2 cup of oil. But first, let's get this beautiful
sugars
thing
going.
Let's get this beautiful. Yeah.
So the reason why Ezra is a better baker than I am is specifically what you were seeing on display right now. There is, and if you were a baker, like, shouts to you, and please let us know what makes you an excellent baker. But it is precision in like weighing the ingredients. I bet was actually pretty fun for you.
Oh,
and
it was so full of discovery. It was informative.
And that
it's a whole new world, baby!
That satisfaction of the discovery between, like, oh, it says 3/4 cup, but when you weigh it at 5 1/4 ounces, that's not quite the same thing. Like, he is into fat, which I am less so. I tend to be more of a less measure, more like intuitive.
You're pretty direct and to the point, which
efficient,
is very sexy.
efficient cooker, which does not bode well for baking. Like, I'm real good at the old rustic apple tart.
Half a cup. Have we done that? Have we done apple
we
galette?
haven't. No, we're just moving into baked goods now because the season's changing and we're moving into like holiday stuff. Yeah.
Half a cup of vegetable oil. All these cookies are going to be insane. We can't even have them right now. We're going to make them for other people.
Yeah.
Because we're giving. We're giving our love that we make on this show. We're giving it out. Yeah. And we're also on the Whole30 diet right now.
Yeah, so Art130. It's
thank you.
So if you are in the Omaha area and are interested in oatmeal cookies, please let us know.
Hook you up,
because we will do a drop off to get them out of the house as quickly as possible.
All right, here we go.
Look at that sugary, buttery, fatty deliciousness.
So this is what makes, just a quick tip, I won't share with you this whole article, but the long and the short of it is, to make this chewy and still got an edge of a crisp, they mix the specific fats together of butter and oil, those two things, and combination with the eggs. Now we're going to need 2 eggs, but only 1 whole egg and 1 large yolk.
Okay.
So we won't need...
I need the yolk.
Yeah, tell them that story.
So one time, I don't even remember what we were making, but we were baking something, and Ezra was really interested in separating the eggs because it's super fun.
I got good at it.
So he's separating the eggs, and he's just moving and grooving, and he separated the whites and the yolks, and assumed that we needed the whites, we needed the yolks. And so as he's pouring the yolk like into the garbage, you hear me from the other side of the kitchen go, "I need the yolk, I need the yolk, I need the yolk." And so now it's become a running joke in our household whenever we are separating eggs. I need the yolk, I need the yolk. Just like this, separating eggs. And I'm curious, for those of you out there who separate eggs, how you do it. Like, we use the egg shell, but I know different people have different methods. So if you have a different method for separating eggs, please let us know, because we are interested in learning and discovery.
Yes, we are. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
1 teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla always smells so good.
Love it. So
we get the good stuff.
Reminds
we
me
get
of
the
the
pure
holidays.
vanilla stuff.
And this, I believe, concludes our liquids.
Wet ingredients.
So once this gets all nice and whiskey, we're gonna go ahead and switch to a wooden spoon. But in Katie's case, talk to them.
Yeah, so it is a known fact, particularly on people who have known me for a long time, that you know how there are different like textures, different textures and things that, like, for some people, like nails on a chalkboard, or there's just different textures. Well,
popsicle sticks are weird for fun.
So I have always had pretty like dry palms, and so there are certain things that feel awful on my skin. One of them, if I were to put on lotion and like put a brown paper bag in my hand, that is terrible. I never do it because, like, it's a very specific thing to do. Put on lotion and then grab a brown paper bag. But wooden spoons at any time, I can't do it. You know the texture of the wooden spoon, like sort of the rough edge. Now, granted, if it is like a sandpapered and smooth, that's different. But you know what I'm talking about with a wooden spoon, when it has that like rough.
Okay,
can't do it.
I love it.
But we don't keep them in the house because I can't wash them because it makes me want to throw up.
It's good. I like the smell of raw wood. Okay, so we're gonna now combine that first bowl of flour mixture that we had.
Dry ingredients
into the wet. That's why I chose specifically to make this one a little bit bigger of a bowl, although it's kind of the same, but more that it's the Pyrex so you could see it.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna fold this mixture in together. Yeah.
Awesome.
This is fun. This part always kind of reminds me of like the middle of a Twix bar, like caramel, you know?
Yeah, totally.
It's got about that caramel color.
Do you always say caramel, or do you say caramel sometimes?
Caramel is usually what I say. Do I say caramel? No.
No, I say caramel, but I've never thought about it before.
Yeah, I've never either.
Oh,
I've heard it so much today. All right, so folding
caramel
this in.
and caramel. Please tell us in the comments. Okay, so we're gonna fully combine this for about 1 minute.
Yeah, you eat all this.
And then after this is fully combined, we're gonna get to the good stuff. We're gonna get to the oats, and in this case, Ezra.
Then you're gonna see how they're all come together. That's when the magic happens.
So in this case, Ezra has chosen raisins as our addition. Now you've done them both ways. You've done them with raisins. You've done them with chocolate chips. You've done them with chocolate chunks.
I didn't have like chocolate chips and knew about chocolate chips inside an oatmeal raisin cookie or an oatmeal cookie until I worked at Berkshire Theater Festival, where they sold, and I worked the concession booth out there, and we sold, as apprentices, we had many jobs like that, parking and all kinds of stuff. But it wasn't until there I was like, wait a minute. You can put chocolate inside of oatmeal cookies? Where are the raisins? What's going on?
Who answered that question?
No one, because I tasted it. Like, all those questions happened in a fraction of a second, and oops, when you're working concessions, you're like, broken cookie. All my questions were answered. Like, why. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. So I've been adding them to recipes ever since. I think the first time I made these, it was just plain Jane, like just straight up oatmeal, and you can do that. These raisins are totally optional.
But it's nice. The raisin is nice. I prefer. So my favorite cookie.
3 cups or 9 ounces.
And how many, when you weighed it at 9 ounces,
this
how
is
many
crazy.
cups did it end up being?
About 2.5 with our measuring cups.
This is what we're discovering tonight, folks.
So this is going to be a whole different kind of recipe that I'm used to.
This is a whole different ball game.
Because I'm more precise than I usually am.
Are you ready for raisins or not yet?
Yeah, because I separated the raisins pretty. Yeah, I think we were doing that. Nice.
Yeah.
There's just about a 1/2 cup of raisins here.
Yeah.
So this is going to get kind of stiff as we go, and this is where the cookie batter gets.
This is where the magic happens. So
it's going to take a second. So go ahead.
In Cooks Illustrated, if you've never had the pleasure of reading a Cooks Illustrated article before,
they're so fun. They're so informative.
They're so informative because the recipe is like 2 columns, but the explanation of the science of the recipe is like 4 columns. And so they talk about
first. It's like they Alton Brown it, right? Like if you've ever seen it, but a lot less flashier and bangier. They straight up tell you what the deal is.
And for the first thing that they do is define it. So like if they're gonna make the best hamburger, like what is the best hamburger? And in this case, like Ezra said with the oatmeal cookies, it's crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. Like that is what makes an ideal oatmeal
And this
cookie.
is after a long period of time. Like put that down, and this is what you get when the cookie is like a day old. It's still chewy and crispy on the outside. I mean, that's crazy.
So every experiment that they do is working toward that crispy outside, chewy inside. So they have all of the different, they tried multiple different fat options and how much is the ratio of flour to oats and what sugars do you use. They do all of that. And so the science of this is really interesting if you're into that sort of thing. If you think it's boring, then you probably have already stopped watching this Facebook Live.
And in which case, we still love you.
We hope you're having a great Tuesday.
Good luck finding better cookies than this.
Okay, so it's mixed up and it looks great. I'm going to hold it up to the camera.
Yeah, go for it. I'm going to get the
next?
pans because we're about to distribute them into 10 per sheet. 10 per sheet.
We're about to distribute them into 10 per sheet. Look at my fingernails. This is called rustworthy. Do you get it? Like trustworthy, but rustworthy.
We've been on here for a long time today.
Well, you had a lot to explain.
You're right. And it was worth it. All right, so so it says to grab number 20, number 24 scoop. I just grabbed the
The cookie, the ice cream scoop.
Because what you're going to do is put 10 on each, and I grab a little bit of water too, because you can even damp your hands to help this next part out.
Damp your hands.
Damp your hands. Come on, damp your hands, man.
So you're scooping a cookie.
I'm scooping your cookie. I'm scooping a cookie. And I'm going to put like a ball out here, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a good sized cookie. Doesn't look like it to your size, but it actually is. And I'm just gonna take it. You could do a whole big one, which I haven't done before.
Baking time's a little different.
You're right. Maybe. But once you ball them all out, you're gonna again about 10 per sheet. You go ahead and flatten them till they're about the disc size, like about. I would say for this, it says like 2.5 inch disc. This is
2.5 inch disc, like a hockey puck.
Probably even a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah. Excellent.
But they're not gonna like splay out like a bunch of other cookies like when they bake. You know what I mean? They're pretty much they're gonna grow a little bit, but they're not gonna grow much more.
Yeah, they're not gonna spread.
And that might be the best disc I've ever done. So anyway, with that in mind, that's about it. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna bake them individually. The sheets, not the cookies. So you put 10 on a sheet, flatten them down, make sure your hands damp. And then, but from here, they're only 10 minutes. And like at every 5 minutes, you just, depending on your oven, 8 to 10 minutes. Every 5 minutes, swap them around, like turn your pan. And then once that's done, 5 minutes out and put them on a grate. Let them cool for 5 minutes, then put them on a rack. And if you can, if not, they're still good. Mm-hmm. But then you put the other ones in right after the first ones come out for another 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. There you have it.
You got 20 cookies that you can give away or sell or enjoy.
Or eat in one sitting. We are going to post the recipe in the comments, and we'll also show you photos of the finished product when we're done. But thank you for joining us today, Tuesday.
Stay safe out there.
Stay safe out there. Please wear a mask.
10/20/2020.
10/20, 2020,
Take care of
2020.
yourself.
Hope you were here with us for that. That's so cool.
Cookie.
Bye.